Hi everybody. A few of you had questions about phase 3, so I'm going to walk you through some of the basics to get you started. So I've opened up these two Word documents, both the assignment description and the template. So in phases 1 and 2, we did things a little bit more holistic and together, with all 5 units, all 5 lesson plans kind of summarized together. So in phase 3, you're going to go ahead and copy and paste the information that you've done from phases 1 and 2 into the template. So this basic information should be the same for all 5 lessons. You're just going to copy and paste it. Your context is exactly the same. We've already gone through that. You've already talked about students' baseline knowledge. We've talked about formative assessment, what you're going to be doing to measure students' learning throughout. And then we've worked on perfecting your resource list. Make sure as you're doing phase 3 that you're continuing to add to this resource list. I know a lot of times as I'm working through the detailed lesson plans, I think of more resources or videos or stuff I want to do with students. And so I always have to remember to go back to my resource list and add. So I'll give you some information and walk you through how to fill in the steps for the unit plan. This is a more expanded version than the KTEP lesson plan because I want you to have a really good template exemplar that you can use in the future to help you kind of think through. So we are going to be looking at the information in blue, which includes those universally designed for learning strategies that we've learned all along. So thinking about differentiation and how you can support students with a variety of needs. And we're going to be using that Kentucky Lesson Plan Handbook and talk about specially designed instruction over here. You're also going to make sure you're including some choices for students, technology, and that there's good engagement for students, and that you're using those research-based strategies for instruction that are in the Lesson Plan Handbook. And those specifically, as we've been talking about in class, I want to see direct instruction and I want to see cooperative learning in your lesson plan. So over in the left-hand side are your steps, and what I recommend you do is fill in the steps first and then do this column on the right. When you try and do both at the same time, it's really easy to get bogged down, and I kind of do better if I do all the steps first. So when we're talking about steps, I usually go ahead and give myself a bunch of spaces, and then I know that I'm going to have to move things around because as you start designing, if you work like I do, I kind of think about the big chunks first, and then I go in and reorder into what works best for students. So we've been working all along with learning targets and looking at, in class, phonics and talking about maybe teaching students specific sounds. So I'm going to do the CH sound today for my lesson. So step 1 in the lesson plan usually involves doing one of two things. One is kind of exciting students about the lesson. The other way that you can approach it is doing some reteaching or remembering of lessons that you've had prior to this. So I'm going to start with the learning target, and remember we're trying to make this really explicit so that a sub could come in and teach this lesson. So I'm going to do that with that format. So say, something like, I'm so glad you're here today. We are going to be focusing on I said CH, right? The CH sound and words that make the ch sound at the beginning and end of words. So our learning target is I can read words with the ch sound, and then I'm going to be right on Smartboard, right? Or you might have a PowerPoint that you're using, or you might have an Educations or a video. And then step 2, what is our learning target? And then students repeat target, right? That's part of our Direct instruction. I say it, you say it. And then to engage students, prior knowledge, pull out bag with pictures and items that have the ch sound. Cheese, chips. So I'm going to list out a bunch of things, and then I'm going to have kids say, let's see what we have in our mystery bag today. Can you find items with the ch sound? Give every student a chance. All right, so maybe I've engaged students now. We've got some excitement going. This might also be showing a video. Next, I would do a review of the prior sound, and this might include having students circle words on a worksheet. That's kind of a standard thing to do, right? So in my lesson, you'll remember I have students that have an intellectual disability. I have students with a specific learning disability in writing, a student with autism, and a student with an emotional behavioral disability. Sorry, do the acronym here, EBD. So one of my students, a student with a specific learning disability in writing, on this worksheet, because we're circling the words, that student isn't required to write, so they shouldn't need any extra accommodations. My student with an intellectual disability should also be able to circle the words. My student with autism and my student with emotional behavioral disability might need, as their supplementary aid and services, reminders of their behavior plan, and they earn stickers for completing work towards a bigger reward, right? That's part of their behavior plan. And all students can earn stickers, so that I'm not just rewarding one or two kids, but that's something that could be universal. I could reward every student for following directions. It's specifically required for my student that has autism and EBD, but I can use that for everybody because all students might be motivated by that for completing work, right? All right, excellent. So as we're going through and doing each step, sometimes I immediately can jump over here and write down SDI. Other times, I'm just going to keep on scripting what I'm doing in the lesson plan. So that lesson might include a video of the ch sound, have students write or circle words or pictures as they hear the words in the video. And this is differentiation. Students can choose the worksheet that best suits their interest needs, giving students choices, right? Because that was one of the things I identified earlier that I want to make sure I'm doing are choices, technology, and engagement strategies. So engaging students with prior knowledge and having them pull items out of a bag. This is engagement, letting each student that wants to participate can take a turn. All right, so for using technology, this is technology, sharing, and then I would put my hyperlink video here that I found on YouTube or I found at Starfall, but we're going to continue to move down. So what I am looking for is I'm going to read through first everything that's on the left and see if it makes sense, if it looks like you're teaching a lesson in order that will give students the skill that you are identifying in the learning target. So that's going to be the first part of your grade. Then the second thing I'm going to do is go back through and say, based on the students with disabilities that are in your group, have you provided SDI and SAS? And what I want to see is where you're writing out SAS, SDI, what those are. And remember that if you're having trouble kind of pulling those out, go back to that lesson plan handbook and see what's recommended for students with the disabilities that you have listed. And if you're having trouble remembering which categories within that lesson plan handbook that might pertain to your students, check first with a buddy and see if they've got different notes than you have. And if not, shoot me an email and say, hey, Dr. Clark, I included a student with a specific learning disability in writing. Can you remind me if there's any other sections besides X and Y and that I need to include? I'm happy to answer those questions. But I'm looking for that detailed writing. I'm looking for a part where, I teach. I want to see that. I want to see students engage. And remember that once you get into student teaching, one of the requirements is for students to use technology in a lesson in a meaningful way. So, this is a theoretical lesson. You're not required to actually teach this. So this is a good opportunity to really spread your wings and show what you learned in EDF 204 and your other classes. Make this an exemplar lesson. So you might have down that we're going to do a Kahoot activity. We're going to do some kind of digital flashcards like Quizlet. Every student gets to make their own Educreation or Voki video with CH words, right? I mean, show me that you've got some great ideas for using technology and list those out here under student engagement. And then we want a section on student assessment where students are showing you what they've learned. Here, I would love to see you show me some choices. So maybe students could make a collage of CH words from a picture bank that you provide. If you have students do a collage, remember that doing something like pulling from a magazine is really hard because sometimes kids can't find the words. So if you're going to do something like a collage, you want to provide them with pictures that have those sounds and don't, but that there's at least 5 things there a student could find that has that CH sound. So I might have them do a collage. I might have them write words or sentences. Students could also use Educreations to dictate and draw their words. Students could, and you're going to give some choices. All of the choices in their assessment should lead back to them demonstrating the learning target, right? So the goal is the learning target, not a piece of paper. So if they can show me that they know CH words, then they've met that learning target. The other thing, now that I've kind of got my basic framework, now I've got some engagement, I would need to spell that out. The other thing I need to go back up into my lesson and pull for is at least 5 opportunities for formative assessment. Oops, sorry. Including some cooperative strategies. So what do I mean by that? You'll remember in the model lesson that we've watched with whole brain teaching that some of that was think, pair, share. So here, where I have students, I can read the words, what is our learning target? Instead of just having students immediately repeat the target, I'm going to say, let's think, pair, share. Tell your neighbor what we're learning today. Over here, I'm going to write cooperative learning, and this is also formative assessment. Do they know learning target? Right? Because if students don't know the learning target, then I'm going to reteach it. So as you cruise through with this, this could be also another think, pair, share. This could be cooperative groups. So for every time you do a cooperative activity, listed over here. We're thinking Kagan strategies. And for every time that you do some kind of